Hi everybody, back again with another tutorial. This time it's making a shopping cart again, but I've built a membership system as well into it, which is more the focus of it this time around. It's also going to be an entity framework 5 or 6, and yeah, it's going to be a series of tutorials. It'll all be written up on my blog, koboldproductionsblogspot.com.au, starting on Sunday, September the 22nd to 2013. The first thing we're going to do is design the database, so that's what this tutorial is about. Okay, so basically start up Visual Studio 2012. It has to be 2012. Make a folder and name the project membership system. It has to be Visual Studio 2012 because we're going to be using an enum, and basically you can only use them in ASP.NET 4.5 and further. So anything lower than 2012 won't cope. Okay, we're going to add to the system an ADO.NET entity model. And the model name will be membership system. We're going to design a thing from an empty model, which means we get to design the entire process. And from here we can basically drag and drop as though it's designing a website, the things we want. So basically we'll start off with the entity, which is like the table, and we're going to, we'll name this one users. We'll just write user in the name, and then the entity set name will be users, plural. And then the ID will change to user ID. User ID, very good. Okay, we're going to have password, email, security question, sec question, security answer, answer. Okay, and then this one will be the previous order. And this one will be the user type. This one's going to be the enum that I was referring to before when I was talking about having to have Visual Studio ASP.NET 4.5 and further. You have to set it to an int in order for it to associate to an enum variable. Then once you've set it to an int, you can right click, then convert to enum. Then we're going to call it member privilege. Okay, and there's going to be 3 types, which is standard, silver, and just so you know, you can't have a space in there, so that will work. And now gold, and you need this one for assigning 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's all you needed. So 1, 2, 3. Now that's the user done. Next, we're going to move on to order table. Okay, and then the ID will be order, and then from here we're going to do the order ID, then prices and product info. Okay, and then user ID. This is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be, of course, in a way referring to the user table. yet unofficially it is, because it's got to be nullable, so therefore I can't set this as a foreign key to that. Those of you who understand database design know that that's what would generally happen, but since anyone can order, even someone who isn't a member, it can be null, so therefore it's not going to be set as a foreign key. And then finally on this, have a date variable. So yeah, date, time. Okay, very good. Now, finally, the last one we're going to have is a products table. So we'll start off and product ID. Name, detail, amount voted. This will be the amount of people who have actually voted, and so therefore it'll be amount voted, and then score. So we'll have a calculation as to how what the actual score is of the thing. And finally, we have the price, which will be basically a decimal, of course. Okay, so here we are. Very good. Okay, so there we have it. That's your design. On a blog page, it looks a bit different. That's just because I've assigned it differently. But yeah, basically, I thought that was a better way of looking at it. But it's the same, essentially the same thing. And from here, we will go on and we will actually generate the database. Well, but to start off, we're not going to actually generate the database. We're going to actually generate the SQL first. Okay. So you need to go new connection. Then this here, you need to change that. Mine comes up with that by default for some reason. Microsoft SQL Server. Then click OK. Server name. You have to choose your server. In my case, it'll be something else. You might click that or just put a dot in like that. But since I've got mine loaded up, it's like that. And then you can load up yours, but because it's a new database, of course, it's not going to be there. So it's going to be membership system. Okay. So membership system. Then click OK. It's going to say, well, doesn't exist. So do you want to create it? You say, yeah, of course you do. Then that's if you want to take notice of this. This is just a connection string and so forth. Yeah, you can find out the directory via the EDRM thing, but anyway, just click finish. And this hasn't generated the actual database as such, just the SQL. So just have a quick look and you'll see, just to appreciate how easy it's been for you. Now you click start and it's going to ask you to connect to your system, then complete. Okay, and if you go to the SQL server, you go to your thing, you might need to add it by this, add SQL server, and then you find your server, and then you find membership system, then tables, and then there's all your things. When I was setting it up before, if you wanted to have it so the drop down would show it after you've selected your server, you just add add a new database here, and then you can select it, and it should be the case that you can then create the SQL and create it that way. However, I think this is where the tutorial finishes. One more thing that I might tell you is you might get error 40 in the generation of the database, shared memory, TCP, and so forth. go into the server configuration manager. Just make sure under the SQL Server Network configuration, the 32-bit on mine anyway, the drop-down protocols for SQL, make sure both of these are enabled. Once you enable them, you're going to need to restart the SQL Server Manager. Basically, you close it and start up again and so forth. Anyhow, that's basically where we're going to finish this tutorial. The next tutorial is going to be on actually setting up products. But again, the Cobalt Productions blogspot.com.au is where you find this tutorial. And yeah, sure. I'll use OCam for this, in case you're wondering.